Why'd he stop the music, the intro music? We weren't ready.
I was about to sing along.
I know. I mean, come on. There's times when there's a long intro and you can hear, life will guide you. Wait. Because if we're playing this, we're re-airing this on YouTube.
Right.
They're going to get us.
Right. This is true. They're going to get up.
You know, this is Late Night Parents. I'm Ted Hicks.
I'm Richie V.
We have none other than Brian Graves, the engineer extraordinaire, screwing around with us. I guess we get to say, Brian, turn our mics up.
Eli. It's up. That's an up mic.
It's up.
I can hear myself.
We are happy to be back. Rich, I don't know about you. It is hot as Hades out there.
Yes, it is. What is this? I guess I didn't even listen, but this is probably the warmest day of the year thus far.
Dude.
We're pushing 90, I saw 98 while I was out.
When I hopped in the car yesterday, let's get through all the informal stuff.
Okay.
We're happy to be here. Our home station, 1240 AM, 95.9 WGBB. What else? Ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com. What else? You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all the above. This is your Rich-centric episode that we've been waiting for. I'm so excited.
It'll take about, 15 minutes?
Big shout out to WRAQ 92.7 FM, upstate New York. Want to give our good friends out there a shout out. They always support the show. Lot to cover this week. There's so much to cover, but there's a few important things. No, we're not going to talk about the president. No, we're going to talk about, the latest drama that's going on in the White House, or the things, something that shouldn't be discussed during prime time.
I can honestly say that whatever he may have done over the last week, I'm not aware of it because I didn't watch.
Did you
tune him out? I just boycotted it all. I'm like, you know what? Nope, not doing it.
Okay.
Not falling for it.
Okay. But I do want to mention just a couple of things. I don't know about you, but I had a busy week.
I did too.
I had a very busy week. We, as you know, work together, but you weren't here this week. So I was up and down the stairs doing this, doing that, yada, yada, yada. We'll mention later on the movie Searching. Went to go see the screening out in your neck of the woods.
Yes, and how was the show?
It was very good, but I'll get to it in
we'll
third
hold the rest
segment.
later on. No problem.
Also had an event I attended, New York Sports Tours.
Okay.
Attended it, I think, on Thursday. It was at Kane Steakhouse.
Nice.
And it's really just looking at all the historical sports landmarks.
Okay.
In New York.
Was it New York State or just downstate New York City area?
More New York City area.
Okay.
Okay. So, and mainly around the sporting teams. We'll get into that later on. We'll tell you the filet mignon at Kane Steakhouse.
Top shelf.
Magnifique.
Magnifique, c'est magnifique.
But without further ado, we'll get into. I attended. Well, you know what? I will decrease and allow you to increase.
You can lead into it because, it's just been my life for the last 4.5 months. That's all.
The culmination of it was Tuesday's event.
Yes.
I was out in Eastern Long Island.
Yaphank. No, you were in Brentwood. Excuse me. That was Brentwood.
Okay. I just know I was just driving on the, I think on the southern state. Yeah, I was driving on the southern state. Just, and I attended an event which was, I will say, very self-gratifying because I knew it was a goal that you wanted to achieve, something you was working towards when we were at the other station.
Right.
Well, excuse me.
Other
address or other location, but the same station.
Yep.
So I will lead into that and hand it over to you.
So, as you know, the event that Ted is referring to was the celebration and ceremony of graduation for the Suffolk County Auxiliary Police Officers, of which I am now one. So for me, this whole process, I mean, if I say when did I first even get the idea to do this, it was really like 5 or 6, actually a little longer than that, probably close to like 10 years ago. So I'm at one of the parades in town, and I'm standing on Jericho Turnpike, watching the kids march by, and see this gentleman, pull up in a police car. Gets out of the car, standing there watching, just making sure no one's running out into traffic, things like that. And I'm like, that uniform looks just that patch looks a little different. Mm-hmm. And then I noticed the card says auxiliary police. I'm like, oh, Suffolk County has auxiliaries. And I was familiar with the auxiliaries in the 5 boroughs in New York City, but I didn't know Suffolk County had any. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting, something to just think about. And I filed it in the back of my head, and never really gave it too much more thought. Fast forward a couple more years, about 4 or 5 more years, and watching TV, News 12, and one of those quick ads comes across. Do something for your community. Join the Suffolk County Auxiliary with a phone number to call. I'm like, now my kids are older, got no more little ones. Everyone's basically independent, grown, doing their own thing.
Okay.
I have more of that type of time available. So let me reach out to them and see what it's all about. Call the number, give them the information. Takes a few months. They get back, and they say, all right, well, actually, that took almost a year. Let me take that back. After that first call, we get a letter in the mail, rather, about 10 months later to meet for an orientation at police headquarters regarding the auxiliary. Find out more about it, get the details and such. So go down to that meeting. There are about, my estimate at the time was about 120. I've learned it was more like 150 people in the room. And, representatives from the auxiliary police force. And they're there just to give us the basics of what the auxiliary force does, what it doesn't do, how we are, partnered up with the police department, and how we also work with the Department of Emergency, Fire, Rescue, and Emergency Services. We're actually employees of that team, of that group, if you will. And then a whole bunch of information about paperwork that needs to be, filled in, background check information, licenses, certifications you got to get for some emergency services items, a whole bunch of stuff that has to be turned in within about, I think it was like 2 months. So I start along that process, and I tell you, this, it's a volunteer position. There are really no benefits to speak of, no money involved. You're doing it just because you want to do something for your community. But as you kind of know from what was going on, the background checks, the physicals, the psychologicals, all the tests that they gave us were, except for part of the physical, we didn't have to run a mile and a half. We didn't have to run, and they didn't give us a polygraph. But otherwise, we get the same background check and everything as police department does. Regular full-time officer. So, over the course of the next year, between getting paperwork in, getting things filled out, interviewing, all the tests and everything else, it acted as a way to, we learned in hindsight, kind of weed out those who either wouldn't have been qualified, weren't really dedicated to really want to do the job. It's just those who couldn't make it through to the final part, which would have been the classes. So out of that initial 120 to 150, 12 of us made it through to take the actual class. And classes began in April of this year. And we had, I forget, it was now about 140 hours worth of training, instructor-led, various members of the police department, some from the auxiliary, most from the full police department. What we are now is we are New York State peace officers, which means that in the case that there's a state of emergency and the governor declares it, we would be activated as then police officers. But as it goes, we are on the streets. We are represented in each of the precincts of Long Island. We work directly with the full-time police officers. We do patrols. We're mostly there to be the eyes and ears of the police. We will help and assist in guiding traffic at marathons, golf events, all the big public events. We'll be there helping to assist in traffic and just being there to be eyes and ears. I've already done 2 details. So I was at the fair out in Northport, and that was just the evenings, just sitting there, walking around, watching the kids, making sure no one's getting into trouble. Doing things that the police could do, but it's not quite as severe where they're better served in other locations. But we're on the radio with them, so if anything really happens, we can have the police called in immediately. And so, that was 4 months of training. I got a book about 4 inches thick at home. We learned the law, we learned penal code, we learned process, we learned deadly force, we learned the whole, everything, the basics, very, very basics of the law and what policing does and what's needed to do to enforce the law and help assist in enforcing the law. And as you saw, you were there for graduation, so
True.
I am officially auxiliary police. Thank you, Brian.
So now that we know that, I think maybe a few months ago I had a few questions for you.
Yes.
So for me, for the novice, or for our listeners near and far, describe the typical work week for an auxiliary police officer for this position.
All right. So, since I haven't only been for a little less than a week, I can't really fully answer that yet. But the typical detail I can say. So we're going to have our scheduling meeting for the folks in our precinct. And now to take, I guess, a half a step back. Again, it is a volunteer position, but you do have to commit to a certain amount of hours a month. It's a very small commitment. We have to commit to 10 hours a month, 120 hours a year volunteer time, which is very, very easy to do when you think about it. But basically, again, for the tours I've done, it's been, you actually show up in uniform. We have uniforms just like the police department, except our patches are a different color. But we're using the same uniforms, same duty belts, same gear. Everything is the same that they carry, that we carry. You report to the precinct. You already have a schedule of those who were planning to work or volunteer for any given event and time. Show up, and then we start filling out paperwork. We have the same forms that the police use. If you check into the precinct, you get it signed off by the duty officer. Go on the radio, report in, grab a car, take the car wherever you have to go. If it's a detail, take the car to the detail, park it there, and again, monitor the events. Or when you're on patrol, you will have an assigned sector, and you'll patrol your sector. You're driving around in there, or you can have a foot patrol, like the good old days, like a beat cop. We have those. I haven't done the patrols yet. I expect to be doing that probably next week. It's policing at just about all levels.
So I know this is a new role for you, even though you've been working towards this and working with existing auxiliary officers.
Yes.
Where do you want to see yourself? Like, how long do you see yourself in this current role?
I'll start at 10 years. I think it's because, one, just all the time that you've put into it, that what I've done to get here. It's not like I'm going to say, all right, do this for a year and leave. No. As long as I'm healthy and able, definitely 5 years, probably closer to 10 years.
I got to tell you, during the event, some of the officers that were being recognized.
Yes.
There was one officer that they did 750 hours.
Yep, in a year.
In a year.
Yes.
There were about 2 or 3 other officers that did about 350 hours.
Yes.
There was one officer who was retiring who basically brought the house down. 22 years of service.
Yes. And there's another one who, and we have to find out, I can mention his name because he was, let's see if I remember his credentials, he was the sheriff of Suffolk County for like 15 years. He was NYPD at a senior level for a good number of years. And when he retired, he was inspector which is like third lead of any auxiliaries, 41 years as an auxiliary. He deserves a big one. Inspector Jenkins, thank you for everything you've done. He was also in the second precinct where I am. I had a chance to meet him in classes, but I didn't get a chance to work with him because he has retired. But yeah, 41 years, and there's plenty of 10, 15, 20-year guys.
Wow. This is Late Night Parents. Ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com. Question, Rich. As I was sitting there and then standing there on the side, getting some video and enjoying your day.
And some great shots, thank you.
Oh, yeah. There's some great shots. I will tell you this much. Do you see this? I mean, I know this isn't the role for the auxiliary officer. They're there for, I guess, to lighten the resources on
the full police.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you see, let's just say that if this was a wish list of yours, we always talk about community policing.
Yes. That's what this is a big part of. You work in the precinct you live in. That's where they first assign you. You can switch later on if you like, but you're assigned to where you live. One reason is because you're going to know the area. When you get calls or when you're listening to calls, because we don't really get calls on the radio per se, but you hear addresses, things like that, you need to know. And also, where there are trouble points and places, it's good for you to know that too, because we do have input as to, I saw something going on over here, report it up, and then the full-time police will take a look at it and follow up on it.
But I'm even speaking on the point of, I think there's a gap.
Okay.
Well, there's been a gap. Well, let's say in the last 20 years or so.
Right.
Give or take. Because when we were young, or younger, you might have known the local neighborhood police officer.
The beat cop that I kind of referenced before.
Yes.
Yeah. That seems, we discussed that in one of the classes, and it was just a change in mindset kind of overall for the police, that instead of having that one or two resources, that sure, they got to know the community. And, there were many times in the old days where something would go on and, someone would go looking for, hey, where's Officer Joe? I need to talk to him.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. For some reason, they got away from that.
But is that policing it sounds like policing in general.
In general, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, in general. Because you used to see, even if, in the 5 boroughs in the city, sure, we remember.
Right.
Up and down Merrick Boulevard.
Living in
Jamaica,
Queens,
yes.
When there was a community meeting or a community event, the police officer would be there.
Yep. You knew your local cop who walked the street. There are more in cars now, less on the street. That, again, that's just a policing in general thing. But I kind of get the idea that they want to bring that back to some degree.
But do they bring that back to some degree with your type of role, or
no, with official police?
Okay,
with official police. I mean, sure, I'm sure someone has probably thought about it and says, it's visibility, because at first glance you can't tell the difference.
You can't tell the difference.
At second glance, you can't tell the difference.
I tell you, I made an illegal turn
in front of one of us,
in front of one of your brethren.
Yes.
And I took a deep breath. Then I saw the auxiliary on the side.
Like,
I was like, okay.
Yeah, we can't pull you over and give you a ticket. No.
Right. I just see that as a plus. I see that as, anytime there's going to be more resources out there,
right?
It's going to
enhance public awareness.
There's the public awareness, and then there's the knucklehead that's out there,
right,
about to do something,
right, and he'll be seen. You hope that he says, "Oh, those guys are out there."
Right,
it's a cop.
Right,
and we have the same arrest powers actually as any other civilian, unless activated. So unless I see someone committing a major felony against someone in front of me with my own 2 eyes, right, where I can say, that is the person, I saw him do it, he did it, in fact, he did it, I know he did it, I can't do anything. And then and in that case, I can do what's a citizen's arrest.
Okay.
Then it's called the police, I fill out the paperwork and all that. But unless it happened in front of me, it'll never be, officer, that man just, knocked me over the head with a baseball bat. Call 911.
Right.
Are you okay? I can call an ambulance for you. Call 911.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, much success.
Thank you.
We're going to be watching this as this journey starts, and I'm sure you'll be chiming in from time to time with some interesting stories.
There are sure to be stories.
Oh, there's definitely sure to be stories. And we will see as you, like I said, you go down this path. I know, for one, how interested you've been. I'm glad you were able to achieve that goal. I was happy to be able to witness it.
Had to have you there.
Oh, man, I got to tell you. I was driving from south to north. Hopping from highway to highway.
Gotta get over.
Gotta get over there. I'm like, I'm running out of time. But things just worked out. Things really worked out, and it gets to a point where you appreciate being at a place of employment that you can grab your bag and just say, you know what, I'm out.
Gotta go, guys.
Gotta go. I'll catch you.
Job.
You know.
And so far, the coolest thing already, there were two things actually. So, like I said, I worked at the fair.
Okay.
It's an evening thing. It was from 6:30 to 11, a couple of nights this week. And the great thing, little kid walks up, 3, 4 years old, maybe 5 years old. Okay. When I grow up, I want to be a police officer. You shake their hands, you smile.
That is cool.
Little kid looks up, and you know how little kids are. That was great.
So at that point, did you feel like an Avenger or something like that?
That's a good feeling. It's like,
did you feel like Captain America?
It's like, little kid, no problem.
The little kid looks up.
Go to school, do your work. You can become a cop when you get older.
It's like the little kid that looks up at Tony Stark, Iron Man.
Exactly.
And then 5 movies later, it's Peter Parker.
It's Peter Parker.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. It was that, and I'm standing there talking to one of the other officers, and lady walks up behind me. Here's where you've been. One of the people I ride to train with every morning.
Oh.
She's there with her daughter. She's
okay.
Like, that's what's been going on. You've been holding out on us. Like, I had a little thing going on here. So, seeing
Perfect.
people in the neighborhood, they know, and people in the neighborhood don't know that, there's someone watching.
That's good.
In the neighborhood, at least.
That's good. I got to tell you, on my block, in the village, we have an officer.
Mm-hmm.
Two homes away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a good feeling.
Right.
It's just a good feeling because, you see the officer coming through the block, he's beeping the horn at you.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay.
Yep.
So is that, something that's extra added. As I mentioned before, we will discuss this. I know you're not a big hockey guy.
I do, and I appreciate it more after being, front and center at a couple of games.
Okay.
Thanks to Verizon, I believe that was.
Yes.
So thank you guys at Verizon. I do
and Spectrum.
More. And Spectrum. Yes. So after that, but yeah, I won't watch it on TV. No.
I will tell you, these people are going crazy because John Tavares,
who is,
well, he formerly played for the New York Islanders.
Okay.
He was their guy.
Okay.
He was our guy.
He was what position?
Yes.
What position?
Center.
Okay. All right.
And lo and behold, his contract ran out.
Right.
During the season.
Don't say Rangers.
Islanders.
Yeah. No. Don't say he went to the Rangers.
During the season, decided, hey, don't trade me.
Okay.
Because I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
Signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh. Backstab.
So, of course, you got all these people online going nuts, burning his jersey.
Uh-huh.
He wrote two notes today on social media. One to the organization,
right.
One to the fans. And people are like, snake. All you see is snake emojis. And you're like, really? Come on.
Are they treating him kind of like they treated LeBron when he said, goodbye, Cleveland?
I don't think anyone could treat, at that level.
Not that bad, okay.
No. So, yeah, that was the case with that. It's I see it as this.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a player
yep.
and you sign contracts
right.
and your contract runs out, well, guess what, Rich? You have the ability
to make it to go elsewhere,
to go wherever else you want to do.
That's fine, but don't sit there and if it sounds like kind of try to play them or lock something in just in case and say, no, I'm going to stay. I'll be here, guys.
He didn't want to be a rental.
Yeah, but you're really a rental anyway. A highly paid rental.
Right.
May I
he didn't
add.
want to be a rental. So I think the show after this is going to go in depth on Tavares and everything else like this.
Sounds interesting.
I won't touch it. We won't touch it any further. I just go to the point of you have a contract.
Right.
It's kind of like just wherever you want to work.
Right. Well, the contract is just that. It expires at the end of the contract. Both parties can do whatever they want to do.
Right.
You know, unless you've written something in it that says within X amount of time before a contract expiration, we have to start talking and make some decisions or come to an agreement publicly. When the clock turns 12:01 on the next day after the contract's over, it's over.
That's it. It's over. Let it go.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna run into a few butthurt fans, but they're fans,
right?
You know, and you know what happens if you're an executive for one of these organizations and you start listening to fans.
Start making the wrong decisions.
You will become a fan too. So I got to tell you, on Thursday, was out there in Deer Park, as I mentioned, screening for the movie Searching. Real quick recap. Basically, there was a father. It was the story of a father. He had a 16-year-old daughter. She went missing. The local investigation is opened, and the detective is assigned to the case.
True story?
No.
Do we know? Okay, not. Okay.
So 37 hours later, without a single lead.
Okay.
So the father decides to search in one place that no one has looked yet, but where all the secrets are kept today. The daughter's laptop.
You mean the police didn't look at her laptop?
In this movie, the police did not look at her laptop.
Well, then, Dad, good for him.
You know, so in this hyper modern thriller, it's told through technology.
Okay.
The technology devices we use every day to communicate. The father must trace his daughter's digital footprints before she disappears forever.
Okay. All right.
So it's about an hour and 45 minutes. Very good movie.
Good.
I'm not just saying that because we have free passes.
Right. No, you enjoyed it. You will speak the truth.
I had my preteen with me.
Okay.
To explain to him, okay, here's what's going on here.
Right.
Here's what happens when I always tell you, you know, if you don't follow these directions, you can get snatched.
Right.
Such and such can happen. So the father logs in to her Instagram, to her Facebook, to her Twitter account, and maybe her Snap.
Okay. And starts to piece the puzzle together. And
then he starts to wonder because he was like, he didn't even know his daughter. And that's the sad thing.
Right.
You know, because, you know, like there's times when your kids, well, your kids are older, but, you know, your kids are like, no, I don't want you to follow me on X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Why not?
Right. Do you have something to hide?
What do you have to hide?
Yep.
So, and this was the case where the father was sitting there, and of course he showed it how easy it was to reset all her passwords.
Right. Okay.
And he was just going through.
Watching it as her. Right. So it sounds like you have two stories unfolding there. You have one, the story of the investigation of where is she and what has happened to her.
Right.
And then the other of the story of what is the young lady, what is she really doing in life, and her real personality and her real activities and things like that.
It was told through, as I mentioned, technology. So you would see them FaceTiming each other on the screen.
Okay.
You would see him logging into her MacBook.
Right. Okay.
You would see her Instagram page come up
with the comments.
You would see her friends update their pages and their statuses.
Okay.
Of where they are. You know, so that was the basis of the movie.
Okay.
I don't want to give a lot of twists and turns.
Okay. Well, that's good.
A lot of twists and turns.
No spoilers. Yeah.
The writer of the movie, probably going to get him to come on next week.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, probably going to get him to come on next week because I hit him up on Twitter to say, hey. And of course, we did a promo on Late Night Parents. Yep. And with the screening passes, we handed out 166 screening passes.
Really? Nicely done.
Nicely done. So most of the theater was filled up, and it was like there was a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Because you're standing there, and you're looking around the theater, and you're like, a lot of this is due to me.
There you go.
But no one knows.
And I missed it. I was working the fair.
You were working the fair. You were doing much more important things. Oh. I was sitting here focusing on the brand, and you were sitting here focused on the community.
Both just as important.
You know? The other thing I did, like I said, the New York Sports Club, New York Sports Tours. Mm-hmm. Guess who was there? So I'm sitting there. I go to this event, get invited to it,
yep,
and I attend midday event.
Oh, okay.
So I had to disappear.
Yes.
Poof. From 12 to 1:30, okay. I just vanished into the ether.
That's all right. Lunch.
Extended lunch, Midtown.
Nice. Yeah.
Not far from Penn Station. So I get there. Uh-huh. There's nothing but all media there.
Okay. Pure media event.
Pure media event.
Okay.
Yankees.com is
right.
there.
Okay. Nice.
Bleacher Report is there.
Nice.
And Late Night Parents.
Late Night Parents is there.
Oh my goodness. So John Starks was there.
Okay.
I got some audio with him.
Nice.
Brian Cashman was there. Okay. Mary Carrillo, who does the narration for this New York Sports Tours.
Okay.
Who else? Shep Messing from the New York Cosmos.
Yeah.
And who else? There was one other wiggy that was there. But it's nice. So people nowadays, well, not nowadays, you have the option. I don't know if you took your lovely wife to see Hamilton.
Not yet.
Okay, so we have the option. You can go spend your money to go see Hamilton.
Yes.
Or you can decide that sports does matter, and you can go to the New York Sports Tours, spend about the same amount of money.
Okay.
Go for a tour of whether it's Citi Field or Yankee Stadium or, you're going around town, and then finish it off with a delicious meal at Cane's Steakhouse.
So that's how all of the tours run? So there's sports plus dinner.
Sports plus dinner.
That's not bad.
And the pricing is right.
It's right? Okay. So this sounds like it's almost the perfect gift
yes.
for like a Father's Day gift.
Total Father's Day gift.
Husband's birthday.
Gonna get those folks on because I walked out of there and they gave me a nice goodie bag.
Good. Gotta get the swag.
So, gonna have them on let's say in about 2 weeks.
Nice. Okay.
So we have the writer on the next week. 2 weeks we'll have the people from New York Sports.
Awesome.
Or we turn around and have everyone on one bang-up show and then twiddle our thumbs for the rest of the month.
And let them talk to each other.
Right. So, yeah, you have those choices. You have the choices of, hey, I can do this or I can do that. All different tours.
Different levels.
Different levels.
Okay.
So there's a 1 hour tour.
Right.
There's a 4 hour tour.
Okay.
They both end up with having dinner with with your tour host.
Okay. Who is a sports representative.
Legend.
Yes.
So bad. They will have, Jets.
Right.
Giants there.
Right. Okay.
You name it. Knicks, Nets. All the
pick a player.
Everything, it's specifically catered towards New York. So I can see them rolling out New York sports tours and into L.A.
Right.
And then Chicago.
The big sports markets.
And into Boston.
Boston. Got to go to Boston.
You got to go
Boston
Philly.
Next.
Yeah, I think Boston next.
Yeah.
Boston, Philly.
Yep.
Next, but I like it. Well put together event.
Yeah. All right.
Really well put together event. And like I said, cost effective.
Okay.
So whatever the cost for those Hamilton tickets,
those tickets are up there.
It's about the same amount.
All right. But that sounds like an engaging evening because I'm not. I don't want to sound like it's going to sound because sitting watching the musical Hamilton is an event unto itself.
Of course.
But this sounds like if you're someone who's maybe not quite so much into the musicals and Broadway plays, things like that. Getting to see your favorite sports venue from the back, it seems like a little bit, backward history, seeing how it works behind the scenes, getting to meet a sports star, and having a great dinner. I'd go that route too.
That's true. That's true. This is Late Night Parents with Rich and Ted. Rich, excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yes, because this is like a break. This is a breather. The Ant-Man, I really did like that movie. It had just the right amount of humor. It's, we don't even have to talk special effects.
No.
I thought the acting was fine. It was all around good. Been waiting for to see the Wasp and Ant-Man together, see the camaraderie, see how they play off together. Even the commercials look great.
They do.
And we need something lighthearted now, since that we can. It's well beyond now. We can say some spoilers, since half the world is dead, including half the superheroes. So something lighter right now is a good thing.
So here's the crazy thing about this, and I'm starting to see the science behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Ant-Man and the Wasp starts after Civil War and leads up to the finger snap.
Okay. All right.
So
timelines.
There's a timeline of. So I'm guessing the story spans 2 years. I'm not sure, but it's going to lead up to the finger snap, and I'm guessing. I mean, and this is me just going out there for post credits.
One of them dies.
One of them is, somebody's going to disappear.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's a good way to play it, I guess, also. So, that way nothing gets ahead of the finger snap.
Right.
That story, however they take that with Captain Marvel, is its own story.
Right.
And we just see things happening along the way. Okay. All right. I'm good with that.
Yeah. So, I think we had an article on the site regarding 6 ways to improve your golf game. Which we got to get out there this year, at least once.
I'm down. I have, my golf story. So, I before I bought my first new motorcycle.
Okay.
I started going to the range.
Okay.
Bought a set of clubs.
Okay.
Going to the range. Went golfing. Got invited once. Went golfing. Had a good time.
Okay.
I did okay.
Okay.
But it came down to Sundays. It's either going to be the 4 or 5 hours at the golf course, or the 3 or 4 or 5 hours riding the motorcycle. Motorcycle won.
Okay.
Couldn't do both. Got to be home sometime. And so that was pretty much it. But let's get out there. No problem.
I haven't been out there since last year.
Okay.
So I've got to go to the range just to practice my shot a little bit.
Right. I definitely would need to.
So I think that's key. Number 2 is looking at a course that isn't that hard. I played over in Merrick last year. For me, what was it? Eisenhower Park was pretty rough.
Right. That's a real course. I mean,
that's a real course.
I don't care what color you're playing. That's a course. So no. That one I played, it was out east, Rolling Rock, something like that. I shot a 105 on it.
Okay.
And I forgot what the par was, the full 18. It wasn't, it wasn't a hard course. But we got so many public courses out here on Long Island. We can find one that we can get out there and play on.
That's true. So focusing on the practice behind playing is pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of noise.
So, if I remember correctly, I like I said, when I was practicing, I of course read, went online, figured out how to swing, looked at videos, developed a swing, used it, but then I got lucky and had like a half-hour lesson by a pro who basically said, okay, you're doing half the stuff wrong. Which was good.
Okay.
Because I was able to take the most basic rudimentary things that you can learn in half an hour and apply them to my swing at the time, and it made a difference. So I guess I know one of the things that he kind of mentioned and said, if you're gonna play, you have to practice.
Of course.
This sounds like a silly statement to make.
No, but it totally makes all the sense in the world. It's
right.
like if you just try to get out there
and swing and bang. No, you've got to develop the muscle memory so that you can swing, and don't sit there and try to swing as hard as you can.
That's another thing.
That's where, everyone wants to do that. You want to go out there, hear that beautiful sound, get that swing going, and see the ball leave the club and go straight to the right.
That's Yoenis Cespedes.
Cespedes.
Throw
the ball as hard as you can.
As hard as you can, and then he wants to know why shoulder problems or hamstring.
Right. Everything else falling apart.
You think about it. Really excited, but how do you? So the question is, how early do you go out there? Because if you're dealing with weather like this,
right, you want to be out there
6 a.m.
They're most open at 6 o'clock.
Right.
You want to be there at 6 o'clock, and on days like this when that haze is still out there, the sun's just coming up.
Right.
Dew still on the grass, and be done before the high
I just know 9:30. I remember I was out there one year, and we were, regularly going out there, and I was playing with a bunch of guys that were older than me.
Okay.
So they were talking a whole bunch of trash.
Of course.
But I tell you, I was wiped out by 9:30.
Okay.
By 9:30 a.m.
Done.
Because the sun was down and you're just out there, and it's just like,
can't hang, young blood.
You didn't get your second win yet. I'm like, shut up. And I guess if you get out there earlier, you will make it a lot easier on yourself.
Okay, well that makes sense.
But last year I went out there at 12 noon.
That sounds crazy.
And
depending on time of year.
I was beat up.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I was beat, totally beat. So
now, are you out there with the golf cart, or are you hoofing it and carrying them?
Hoofing it.
Okay.
Hoofing it.
Okay.
Soaking wet.
Uh-huh.
Golf cart.
Well,
hey, you put it on your back. You put it on your back. You're not pushing it.
Yeah, I know.
You're not riding.
Yeah.
You're just on your back, and you just
swing it over and keep walking.
And you're like, oh my God! And you get home, you shower,
right?
You soak, and you're like, I'll see you in the next 2 days,
right? So how long have you been actively golfing?
Actively golfing about 10 years.
Okay. Did you ever take lessons, or are you completely self-taught?
I took lessons. I think I took lessons once at. They have those continuing education books for like Nassau College, Nassau County,
BOCES and Suffolk County,
Suffolk County. I took one of those. It was maybe like 6 classes or something like that.
That's good.
Like 35, 45 minutes. I don't know. It's something that I like to get back into.
Sure.
And it's the summer.
It's the summer.
And you have a little bit of flexibility built in, so you want to take advantage of it. I don't know.
We'll see. So the last question would be, did you have your own clubs custom made?
No.
Because that's what I hear is what is one of the biggest things that can make a difference on your game. It's also one of the more expensive things.
I had a starter set.
Okay, which of course you get to start there, but
and I still have my starter set.
Yeah, ditto.
I think when you get to that point and you've accepted,
yes,
that you're ready to do this.
Yes.
Then maybe you want to get your own custom set.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, the starter set was like $200, maybe $300.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was such a long time ago that you got your money's worth.
Right. Exactly.
other than that, then you being home and you graduating, and what else have you been doing?
Housework. So
housework.
This was
the honey-do list.
Well, I made this list myself, so I had decided. I said, all right, because you of course you live in your home. You see your home every day,
right?
Then one day you step back and you look at it, you're like, man, that paint looks a little dingy.
Yes.
When did that happen?
Yes.
When did it get like that? Well, I had that epiphany about a month ago, and I'm like, all right, I got some time coming up soon. Got to paint the house.
Okay.
So we start with, picking the colors. And we didn't agree on colors immediately. We got one, get
external,
the sample.
Internal?
External. Just external. So I have
Okay.
the cedar shakes just in front. It's white siding on the sides, but the front is the cedar siding shakes, cedar panels, and bricks. So it wasn't, crazy amount. And trim, all the trim and things like that had to do. So, we get the colors. I pick one, she likes another, so I get hers and I get a sample, and I figured what best way to do it. You gotta really use that sample and get a good cover. So I paint like a row of shingles outside, so you can see it, get a good look. She doesn't like it too tough. I'm like, well, let's try the color I picked. She's not big on blue. It is a blue, but she likes it more than the gray, which she was looking at. So right now she said, all right, well, we can do the blue. And I said, tell you what, if you really don't like it that much, I said a year. I'm going to turn that to 2 years. I'll repaint again in 2 years because it's only a day's worth of work and no big deal. So that's what I spent.
Backbreaking or?
The worst part was because, again, it was really in need of the paint job, and the previous owner had obviously just painted over whatever was there before. I was out there for a good 4 or 5 hours the first day, the day before we got all that rain, peeling paint off of shingles by hand. So that was the work of it. Not backbreaking, just very tedious, because moisture starts getting behind the paint, and so it bubbles up, and you got to peel that stuff off. So that's what I spent a day doing, and then out there with the roller, out there with the brush, out there doing the trim. That was a couple of days, but it came. I'll say it came out really well. It doesn't look like it was just thrown up there. I like the color. She likes the color. And, we'll see. So that was the biggest thing that I've done over the last couple of weeks. And, of course, time off is time off.
So I got to ask you this because I think we talked, it looks good.
Thank you.
It looks really good. I think post-production. I think post-production last week.
Yep. In post?
Post-pro. We talked about, and it's something that I guess we'll talk about from time to time, leasing versus owning.
Vehicles?
Vehicles.
Yes. That was in post-pro we had that conversation. Yes.
Post-pro.
Yep.
So I've leased.
Yep.
My lease is ending in March. Not really sure what I want to do.
So I've always been of the opinion. I mean, sure, if money is an issue, and you can't afford a traditional car note, and sure, lease. That's a way to get a car, cheap, couple of years,
right,
to make a decision. Sure, it makes total sense. I think it makes more sense if you have some way to write off all or a portion of the lease expense.
Gotcha.
Because, really, it's a long-term rental.
Right.
That's all it is. And you get the limited mileage, whatever you sign in for your contract. And you do have to baby it. You got to take care of it because they're going to get really picky when you return the car. Scratches, dents, dings, mileage, interior status, everything. So you gotta be careful there with the lease. But some people also like to have a new car every 2 years, 3 years. So leasing makes sense for them. Sure, you just know I'm getting out of it, get another one, and just keep making that payment. I kind of like I'll have a car, I'll make a payment. It'll be more of a payment, but at the end of that 5 or 6 years, whichever deal you worked, it's mine. no more payment if I don't want one. Go a few years without a payment. I take care of my cars anyway, so
Right.
that's not even a factor really.
You know what? I will say this much, and this might show some of the laziness in me.
Never.
Dude, I just really enjoy this last 2.5 years of having a car, having really to do nothing to it.
Right? Maintenance. That's true.
And bringing it in.
Yeah.
Bringing
That's
it
a
in
factor.
for the oil changes.
Right.
Bringing it in, and tires are covered, and this is
Right.
covered, and that's covered, and
You see, you got yourself a good deal too, though.
so
I get that.
inspection,
They take care of all that, really.
all of that.
Nice. Okay.
So and the fact that I don't have to worry about it, and I mean the one piece that kind of bites my you know what is the fact that I won't ever hit that mileage number.
Yeah, you don't really, you're like me, really. You put like 6 miles a day on the car.
Right. Right.
Except when you take those Virginia, North
Right.
Carolina, or whatever
Right.
trips. Yeah, I get it. Well, so it could make sense. But just know, you like now, you know that lease is up in a few months.
Lease is up.
You're either going to buy this car,
Right.
or get into another lease.
Right.
And fine.
And if I was to buy anything, to tell you the truth, I would buy this car because
Right.
I know what's been going on with it.
But how much? What's the deal?
Oh, well, I don't even know. I haven't even gone there yet.
You probably want to start that conversation.
Right.
Because they're going to come at you with some astronomical number.
Yeah, you know.
And you can go back at them and be like, no, come on.
No.
I've had the car for the last 2 years, 3 years.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that what's going to happen is we're going to sit there, we're going to talk, and I'm just going to say, you know what? Here, take the car.
Right. Yeah.
Take the car.
Yeah.
And we'll go for this one.
Right.
You know, so, not sure. But the one good thing I will tell you is I've dealt with the same dealership for the last 15 years.
Wow. Okay. So wait, Professor, did you have the Red Explorer before the black
Yes.
one?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So with that car.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that was in, almost 20 years.
Okay.
So, and that's, you know, a lot of people will sit there and rip apart Ford.
Right.
Down on road dead.
Right.
All the
Fix
above.
or repair daily.
Right. I've never had a Ford break down on me.
I've had one Ford, had negligible issues with it. The old T-Bird. Yeah. So, a lot of the issues with vehicles, it's how people, how they don't take care of them.
Right.
I mean, granted, there are mechanical problems, and there was a time when especially American manufacturers kind of shoddy workmanship.
Yeah.
But that was like 20 years ago now, or more. Vehicles these days, top shelf. We're getting parts sourced from all over the world now anyway. There's no such thing really as a car only made in the U.S. or made in Germany or made in Britain. That doesn't really exist anymore. It may be assembled there, but the parts are from everywhere.
But also, we have one person making America great again.
Tariffs everywhere.
Buy American.
Buy American. I always say that, but
I mean, I agree with the Buy American bit.
Yeah. But now it's also that you're going to put all these tariffs on these other countries and think that they're not going to say, "You want to tariff us? Okay, we'll tariff you."
Right.
So now you got to pay more.
Now you got to pay more.
And who's going to get the brunt of it?
The consumer.
We will. Exactly.
The consumer, of course.
Prices are going to go up everywhere across the board.
Of course.
And we're just going to have to eat it. And he's going to be like, "Oh, no, this is right, blah, blah, blah."
This is what I've done for you.
Yes.
I was able to save 15 jobs doing this.
Yes.
You know?
for a couple of weeks because those jobs disappeared anyway.
Right. They're leaving anyway.
Yes.
They're leaving anyway. We said this wasn't going to be a Trump-centric episode.
Yeah, well, it's not. We're at
And
the
it
very
wasn't.
tail end of it now, so it's not Trump-centric.
Yeah. No, I feel it. But so what you got going on this week?
Really got nothing too much planned. This is, I did the work at the first week of vacation, 4th of July, of course. So we'll be doing some barbecuing.
Okay.
Nothing crazy planned. We are getting together for starting to organize things for the party for my son, for Ryan, and his fiance when he comes to town in a few weeks. which of course you are invited. So we're just getting things together, organized. Because Linda is the party planner and the party organizer. So she's got a whole theme ready to go.
Okay.
So you're in for a treat.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, with that.
What about you? What's going on?
I am going to take it low pro. I got to work Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
And then for the remainder of the week, we'll be off.
Yep.
I'm just going to try and keep this as low profile as possible.
Yeah, good.
Hopefully the weather, I know the weather's going to be beautiful.
Yes.
Hopefully it turns down a notch too.
It's supposed to. Today was supposed to be the warmest day.
Oh, okay.
So
Great.
it goes down.
Great.
Humidity will be there, but the heat goes down.
All right.
Get some fishing in. That's my plan. Get some fishing in.
And I hear
the music.
Outro